Welcome to the second lesson of the Ielts Booster Workshop. I'm Fabi and I help students prove their English level so they can apply for opportunities abroad. I'm an English teacher based in Brisbane, Australia. I've taught English at universities, language schools, and my specialty is the Ielts test. In this workshop, I'm showing you how to finally get your English certification so you can go after the international opportunities you've always dreamed about. And in this lesson, I'm going to show you how to access what I call IELTS Ikigai and how to enter a state of flow when preparing for the test. Because when you study this way, everything becomes easier. You get closer to the score you need faster.
I did a test just once. I thought I would never possible to do the test, like to pass the test for the first time. So I saved like 3 test money. But thank you, God, and thank you, Fabi. I passed the test for the first time. I got 6 overall in IELTS test. That's what I need. She made me feel confident to do the test as well. I moved to Australia for a change. My cousin was living here, so he said, "Oh, come to Australia. Everything here is fine, better, safe. You're gonna feel safe and do something different." That's why I moved to Australia. I didn't know that I'm gonna stay. I thought I'm gonna stay like 2 years, but then when I got in here and I saw the possibilities to have an Australian visa, for example, and living here more time, that's why I studied childcare. And to this visa, that's why I did the IELTS test, because I have to do the working visa, even though I'm not an Australian resident yet. Like now, I just got a promotion in the childcare center, so now I'm a lead educator, and I'm probably gonna stay there more 2 years. But I'm not sure if I want to stay in Australia, if I'm going back to Brazil. I have the options.
In the first lesson, you saw the 3 biggest mistakes students make when preparing for the IELTS test. And the worst part is they actually think they're doing the right thing. You also learned that there are strategies to approach the test because even though the test questions change, what the test expects from you doesn't. And when you truly understand that, you enter what I call flow state. What I like to also call the IELTS Ikigai. If you haven't watched the first lesson yet, now you understand how important it is. So hit pause, go back and watch it first. Make sure you're not making any of those mistakes. Then come back here so you can really make the most out of what I'm about to show you. All right, let's move on. Today, I'm going to show you the key strategies to help you understand and apply the IELTS Ikigai so you can enter the flow state. But you might be asking yourself, is this flow thing really important?
When I left the test, I realized that I knew what I was doing. Finally, I got it. I know how to do the writing. I know how to do this test. So it's not a monster anymore, like I know what to do. I just have to follow everything the structure, everything that I've been studying, and that's it. So even if I had to repeat the test, I wasn't worried about because I know what to do. For the first time, I felt this way. It was crazy. It was very interesting, like to realize that, yeah, I can do this.
Did you hear that? That's flow. That's what it looks like when someone enters the IELTS Ikigai. And how did she get there? That's exactly what I'm going to show you now. To reach this level of clarity and confidence, you need to activate 4 powerful tools: feedback tool, the strategy tool, the progress tool, and the English tool. Let's talk about the first tool, feedback. Why is feedback so important? Because there are certain skills that are really hard to evaluate on your own. Let's look at this practically. Reading and listening are easier to practice. You can check the answer key, measure your performance, and track your progress. But writing and speaking, without feedback, you don't know where you're making mistakes. You don't know how to fix them. You might not even know where you stand or what your current level is. Now you might say, "Oh, but I already have an English teacher who helps me." Let me be honest with you. If your teacher isn't an IELTS expert, they won't be able to help you properly. Because general English is one thing, and what an IELTS examiner is looking for is something completely different. There's a standard, a pattern in the test. And unless you know exactly what the examiner expects, you won't be able to meet those expectations. That brings us to the second tool, strategy. Why is strategy so important? Because once you understand how the test works and what it's really asking from you, results improve immediately. The questions change, yes, but the intention behind each section doesn't change. People who take the test over and over again and still don't get the score they need usually haven't realized the secret. There's a right way to take the test. Each section has its own rules, its own logic. And once you understand that, things become easier. Let me tell you another secret. Strategies are important for everyone, but they're especially crucial for the students who are aiming at a 6. Because if you need a 6, you might not even need to study English at all. Yes, you heard it right. Just by understanding what the test expects from you and following the pattern, you can get your score. But here's the thing. If you're aiming for a 6, I still recommend that you study English. Why? Because you don't want to lose your dream, simply because people can't understand you in writing or in conversation. If people don't understand you, you won't make progress at university, you won't grow in your job, and you might even get fired or lose your visa. Communication is key, and I don't want that to happen to you. So, yes, strategy is a powerful tool, and it's essential to reach flow. Now, let's move to the third tool, progress. Yes. How come is progress a tool? Yes, it is. Because to move forward, you need to know exactly where you are and exactly where you want to go. Sometimes you're already where you need to be, and that's great. But even then, you may still need other tools like feedback and strategy, especially if your level is just enough to get your score. Because when you're right at the borderline, any mistake could bring your score down. So, knowing what to correct, even the small things, becomes essential. Now, if you're not yet at the level that you need, then the progress tool becomes even more important. Why? Well, because you need a custom roadmap, a step by step plan built just for you. Some people need to focus more on writing, others more on speaking, listening, or reading. Everyone's journey is unique. It depends on your personal strengths and weaknesses. So, using the progress tool means identifying your gap and knowing exactly how to close it. Now, here's the truth. If you use these three tools the right way, feedback, strategy, and progress, you can easily get your band 6. That's the secret of the 6. Why? Because the test follows a pattern, and when you follow the pattern, you're already 75% of the Ikigai there. 75% gives you a 6. Now, with this fourth tool, you can stand on the crowd, you can get to university you want, because this tool allows you to increase your score, and the higher your score, the less competition you have and the more preference you get over other candidates. You become the preferred candidate, whether it's for university spot or job position abroad. And when it comes to a residency process, the higher your IELTS score, the more points you get, and that moves you ahead of others. So this fourth tool is absolutely essential. If you want to increase your score and be at the top of the list for the opportunity you've been dreaming of, that tool is English. As I said before, to get a band 6, you might not even need to focus on English itself, but I strongly recommend you still pay attention to your English because I've seen what happens when students don't. Yes, you can pass the test, but if your English isn't clear enough, you might struggle later in university, at work, or even with your visa. But now you already understand. English is the tool that takes you to the next level. It's the tool that helps you stand out, especially if you're applying for a master's or a PhD. Because if the university has to choose between two great candidates, your IELTS score might be the factor that makes the difference. And your English is what helps you increase the score. So now you've seen all the four tools. And maybe you're wondering, Fabi, do I really need all four? Well, let's take a look at what happens when you have only two. If you have feedback plus strategy, you're someone who's trying to organize your study. You care about doing things the right way, looking for strategies to follow the task pattern, and for feedback to correct your mistakes. So this combination gives you organization. If you have strategy plus progress, that means you're someone who's exploring your results when trying test strategies and you're making progress. How? Because you're paying attention to your performance and tracking your results. Without that awareness, there's no real progress. So at this stage, you're analyzing and exploring your path based on what the results are telling you. If you have English plus progress, you are in the phase of discovering your strengths and weaknesses. You study English, notice what's not working, correct it, and repeat the cycle. Study, notice, adjust, improve. That's the kind of repetition is exactly how you start recognizing patterns in your performance. This is a very important level, especially if you haven't achieved your target yet. If you have English plus feedback, that means you're in active training mode. You're practicing your English consistently, getting feedback, and applying it daily. You're not just learning, you're doing the work. That's pure practice. So we have 4 tools, and when we combine all of them in pairs, you build 4 powerful pillars: practice, organization, self awareness, meaning strengths and weaknesses, and result exploration. When you put those 4 pillars together, you unlock the Ielts Ikigai. That's when something shifts inside you. That's when you enter flow and nothing can stop you. You don't have to force anything. You don't have to second guess yourself. You just go. Because when you activate these tools and align these pillars, flow comes naturally. That's what happened to my student, Michelle. Let me play her audio again so you can hear what it sounds like when someone reaches that level.
When I left the test, I realized that I knew what I was doing. Finally, I got it. I know how to do the writing. I know how to do this test. So it's not a monster anymore, like I know what to do. I just have to follow everything the structure, everything that I've been studying, and that's it. So even if I had to repeat the test, I wasn't worried about because I know what to do. For the first time, I felt this way. It was crazy. It was very interesting, like to realize that, yeah, I can do this.
So that's the power of flow. To enter the flow state, it's actually possible. You need to activate and align these 4 tools: feedback, strategy, progress, and English. When you bring them together, you create harmony, and that's what allows you to enter the flow. These 4 steps are what lead you to the IELTS Ikigai and help you prove your English level much, much faster. And here's the truth. More and more people are realizing how powerful this approach is, how much easier it is to get the score you need when you follow the IELTS pattern and use the Ikigai strategy. And because of that, a lot of people are already reaching out to me asking me about my course. Yes, I do have a course. I've spent over 10 years helping students get their English certification and finally go after the opportunities they've always dreamed of. And I'll tell you everything about the course soon, don't worry. But for now, make the most of these free lessons because they won't be available for long. I hope you take notes, especially of the 4 tools that lead you into flow, the IELTS Ikigai: feedback, strategy, progress, and English. And now you know. When you use them right, you start to understand the pattern of the test, and getting a band 6 becomes completely doable. But maybe you're thinking, okay, Fabi, how do I actually put this into practice? Well, that's exactly why class 3 is so important. And I've been telling you this since the beginning. In the next class, I'll show you the step-by-step plan to reach flow to finally activate your IELTS Ikigai. Because yes, it's simple, but chances are you haven't managed to bring all the 4 skills together yet. Why? Well, because it's not just any type of organization you need. The strategies, they are IELTS specific. The English, it has to be the kind that gets you a high score. And the feedback, well, it must come from someone who truly understands the test because general feedback won't help you improve. That's why the next class is the most important of all. In class 3, I'll give you the implementation map for entering flow, and I'll answer some of the most common questions I've been receiving. The IELTS will start to feel easy, and you will forget the idea that the test is hard because it's not. You're just not in flow yet. So if you want to know exactly what to do in the test, don't miss class 3. And also, don't forget to post your summaries in the community to enter the giveaway at the end of the workshop. Not part of the community yet? Well, there's a button right here on this page. Click on it and join us now. You'll be able to connect with others on the same journey and, of course, compete in the giveaway by posting your class summaries. I see you in the next class.